Hello. I'm hoping that you can all see me. If you can see this, then that means you have successfully reached Lancaster University's online open day. Welcome, hiya. So my name's Kat and I work at the university, and normally today we'd be welcoming you to our amazing campus, but obviously things are really weird right now, so we can't do that. So we're bringing our campus to you. I'm thrilled that you're interested in studying with us, and I hope that today gives you a real insight into some of the reasons why we love Lancaster. So to kick us off with that, we've got our Pro Vice Chancellor for Engagement, Professor Sue Black. So Sue, are you there? Can you hear me?
I can indeed, Kat. How are you?
Sue, I'm very well, Sue. Over to you.
You're very kind, and welcome to everyone who's joining us. Normally what I'd be doing is standing on the stage in the Great Hall, and you'd be having the most fantastic day walking around our campus. It is a truly beautiful campus, and I know, having talked to Kat earlier, that the sun is shining because the sun always shines in Lancaster. It never ever rains there at all. And at the moment, I'm about 300 miles north of Lancaster, and these are such strange times. So my job is to try to give you some idea of what it's like to be at Lancaster campus. And it's going to be a really challenging thing to do, but I'm going to do my best, because it's the kind of campus when you walk onto it, you genuinely do fall in love with it. And I did that about 2 years ago. So one of the first things I want to do before we start is to dispel what I think is one of the cruelest myths that there is around. And it's this myth that Lancaster is somewhere in the north. It's not in the north. Lancaster is the geographical epicenter of the UK. So let's lose this nonsense of it being somewhere out of the way. When you look at where the geographical centre is, the reality of it, it's not quite Lancaster, it's about 5 miles down the road in Morecambe. And I'm going to come back to Morecambe in a little while because that's really important. Now, given the fact that we are very, very central to the UK, it does mean that we have really good means of connection to get to Lancaster, whether that's by road or by rail, whether you're flying into an airport or whether you're coming in by a seaport. It's readily accessible. But Lancaster's a bit more than just being the geographical centre of the UK. It's actually the historic sovereign centre of the UK. Now, there are two coloured roses, only one of them's important, and we'll get to the other colour in just a few moments' time. But the red rose is an important symbol because it's the symbol following the Wars of the Roses associated where the sovereignty of the UK is set. And the Duke of Lancaster is the sovereign. So we have a special toast to the Queen, who is our Duke of Lancaster. Now, if you look right at the top of that slide, what you'll see is the crest associated with the university. And crests actually tell you something about heritage and importance. And what it says, that crest, is the lion rampant at the top. That tells you about the sovereign link to Lancaster, and indeed the Queen is the university's visitor. So the Duchy of Lancaster, like the Duchy of Cornwall, are inherent parts of the sovereign history. So you can imagine our history departments at Lancaster absolutely rife with so much of the importance that happened in this country across the decades and the really huge amount of time and deep history. If you then look just below that lion rampant, what you find are the two red roses associated with Lancaster. And below that, that wavy line represents the River Lune. And rivers are incredibly important in relation to where settlements occur. And the River Lune is a deep river, which was really important in a lot of the exports associated with a time when Lancaster was a huge textile exporting capability. And then below that wavy line is the book, and that's the Book of Learning, because that's what the university is about. But also you see that our colours are red and grey. And red, as I said, and we'll keep saying, is about the red rose. But the grey is a nod to our Quaker roots as a university. And those Quaker roots are about sustainability and about community, about being not profligate, those things that we hold very, very dearly. So that kind of sets us where we are. And I just wish that you were with us physically in Lancaster, because I know that the experience would be something that you would really take away with you. But let's go and have a look at the city. So the next slide shows us what the city of Lancaster looks like. It's a small city, and it was first recorded in the history books in around 1086. So we've got 900 years of habitation in this area. It's a beautiful little city, and it is little city because its population is just 52,000. So you can imagine that when the students come into the area, the atmosphere changes dramatically because that's a huge proportion of people coming into the city and young people, which gives it a vibrancy. Over to the right, you can see what is the medieval castle, and Lancaster Castle is something that you really do need to go and have a look around. Its history is tremendous, whether that's from the hanging of the Pendle Witches or whether it's from the fact that it was actually an active prison right up until 2011. So as a city, it's somewhere that you can walk around very, very easily. It's difficult to get lost in Lancaster, but it is the kind of city that makes you feel welcome from the moment that you walk into it, because you genuinely are welcome. It's classic Lancashire hospitality. And you can see from that horizon that we sit very, very close to the coast, and it's less than 5 miles to get to Morecambe and to be able to see out across the bay towards Cumbria. The next slide shows you something that is really important that we hope is going to happen, and something that we hope will be mentioned in the next spending review. So please keep your ear to the news that's coming out from the government around November, I would hope, of this year. We hope to hear that we will have funding to create an Eden project in Morecambe. Now, you might be very well aware of the Eden project in Cornwall, and there was a decision made to create a second Eden project, and this is a very, very close relationship with Lancaster University. It's about looking at sustainability, environmental sustainability, but also business sustainability. It's looking at green energy. It's creating these iconic, wonderfully iconic mussel shells that will allow people to come into the area and to experience the importance of life on a bay. And the Morecambe Bay, in terms of its history, has a real history in terms of shells, but particularly cockles and of course mussels. And so it seemed appropriate that the Eden project will have the mussel shells. And the one that's closest to you there, that small one right at the front, is what we hope will be where the university will be embedded in terms of its outreach and education, in terms of showcasing its research, and actively involved with what we believe will be about 1 million people who will be visiting Eden Project North on an annual basis. It is the most spectacular bay, and if you have a bucket list or a will to have a bucket list, then you really do need to see a sunset on Morecambe Bay. No two sunsets are ever the same, and it is something that will warm your heart and remain with you forever. When we had the trustees of the Eden Project up to visit the site, one of them took a photograph of that spectacular sunset on Morecambe Bay and put it out on social media and said, "Where in the world do you think I am?" And the answers that came back was he was in Rio de Janeiro, or he was in Goa, or in the French Riviera. Amazingly, nobody thought that he was in Morecambe. But you know, when these buildings are built and when that iconic image is out there, Morecambe is going to be placed on the map for some incredibly important reasons. So that we know that we are very well embedded within our surroundings, a small city of Lancaster, a beautiful environment around Morecambe Bay and out towards the Lake District, but we're also at the cutting edge of change, and working with our communities is extremely important to us. But you want to see the campus, you want to have been on campus and to see what it feels like to live there. And the next slide will show you one of the views, and it's a fairly regularly used view of the campus. And we know that it changes on a yearly basis. The campus covers about 200 acres, and it's about 2.5 miles outside Lancaster City, with a really good bus route to get there and a really good cycle route as well. It's a tract of land that was given to the university in 1963, because the university was originally in the city, and the council gave us the opportunity to come out into this rural environment and to spread, to create this campus, this village that would allow the university to prosper, and it certainly has done that. It feels very rural, but just down to the left-hand side, running along that line on the left-hand side of campus where you can see the trees, and if you extend it out onto the horizon, you can see just how close we are to the M6, so that communication and access to the university is incredibly easy. Now, when we put up these slides, what happens is I have no control over what you can see and what you can't see. And Josh, who's controlling this, promised me that with his mouse, and you can see that small little, there it is, moving around, he's going to take you around campus. So this is my real test of Josh's knowledge of what campus looks like. When you first come into campus, one of the first things you come to, oh, there you are, is to the chaplaincy centre. And the chaplaincy centre there on the right is really important. It was the first multi-faith chaplaincy on a university in the UK. It's for people of all faiths and for people of no faith at all. So it becomes the spiritual centre in many ways for the university. We believe it's as important to have a spiritual health, whatever that may look like, as it is to have a physical health and a mental health. Right in the centre of campus, I'm going to take you to a photograph of it later, but Josh is going to find us where Alexandra Square may sit. And it's along that sort of line there. That's the real core of the campus. And from Alexandra Square heading south is the south spine, there you go, that goes all the way down the south direction of the campus. And from Alexandra Square heading north is the north spine, so that it means that you can travel all the way down the length of the campus under a covered walkway, because I didn't tell the truth at the outset, it does frequently rain in Lancaster. And when the architects were designing the campus, they knew that they needed to have covered walkways to allow people to get from the centre out to both the north and the south extremes of the campus. You'll notice that there is woodland all the way around the periphery of the campus, and you can literally walk, but not at that pace that Josh has gone, all the way around the campus. So there's a beautiful woodland walk, and that's really important to Lancaster because we know we inhabit an environment where we need to live alongside the wildlife. The cars for campus are kept to the outside, so the whole area in the central part of campus is pedestrian. And everywhere you go, there are little areas that you just don't expect. Little areas where you might have fountains, where you might have, I'm really checking on Josh, he's figuring, oh, he knows where the fountains are, where you might have seating, where you might have little woodland outlets where you can book those out and you can go and you can study in silence. It's a campus that in many ways is a village in its own right, and the accommodation is all around the periphery of the campus. So there in the north and all the way down, you can see the campus and the accommodation towards the south. So it's also a safe campus, and that's really important, not yet. That's a safe campus in relation to being able to control where people are at any one time. And of course, safety is paramount for us at this time. Should you choose never to leave campus, you could spend your entire undergraduate years on campus. I don't advise that at all, because I do think you need to get out. But when you look at campus, we have our own radio, we have our own theatre, our shops, our restaurants, cafes. Josh is going mad trying to keep up with that. Pharmacies, we have banks, post offices, hairdressers, and the most important thing on campus, the second most profitable Greggs bakery in the UK. Now, if you're not from the UK, you won't know what I'm talking about, but the minute you get onto campus, trust me, you will very quickly learn the importance of Greggs bakery, and the social distancing that that is going to have to entail will be something to behold of its own right as people queue for lunch heading every single day. So it is an amazing campus, and what you can't see on this view is what extends beyond it. And we have incredible sports capabilities, we have incredible sports facilities and buildings, as well as a brand new health innovation campus, which was a £41 million investment. So you can walk around campus all day. It is an incredible environment, it's a welcoming environment, it's a safe environment. What I talked about as well is it being rural. And the next slide shows that what we have is in some ways a rather healthy or unhealthy obsession with the wildlife around our campus, whether they be the ducks, the squirrels, the hedgehogs, even the family of deer that I've seen in the morning down on the campus site. We've learnt that we need to live with the wildlife. So we advocate very strongly that you don't feed the wildlife. And that's really difficult when the ducks wander along Alexandra Square, where you're sitting on the steps, desperate to be fed. We ask that you don't, because the sustainability and the ecology of this is really important, that they find their natural level for living and that they don't become dependent on us. And throughout the academic year, what you'll find often is there are areas of the campus that might look a bit sort of scruffy. And they're scruffy for a reason, because we will choose at that point not to cut the grass, because that's when we have orchids blooming, when we want to increase the diversity of insects, for example, on campus. And if you're in any doubt about the obsession that we have with ducks, go online. Go onto YouTube and type in on the search Lancaster ducks and zebra crossing, and you'll find that in fact what we are even able to do is to train our ducks in health and safety. They know how to cross the road and they know where to do it. And I think that balance that the university has with being in a rural environment is something that is very special. But the environment is also about ensuring that when you come to university, you feel that there's an environment there to support you, a feeling of being home from home, but away from home. And the reasons people go to university are various. It might be that you just desperately want to get away from home. It might be that you really know what it is that you want to do and you're heading to those studies. Or it might just be that you don't yet know what it is, and this is part of your searching journey. But for many, it is the first time that you've left home. And although you might be really eager for that to happen, it can be a scary time and it can be a lonely time. And the next slide shows you simply how we try to go about making sure that you feel that Lancaster is the best place for you, the right place for you, where you'll be challenged in your academic studies, but where in terms of your own happiness and safety and well-being, you'll be well looked after. We're one of the few collegiate universities in the UK, which means that we have colleges, and we have 9 colleges. And of course, every college is the best college. And whenever you speak to somebody who's been an alum at the university, the first thing they will tell you is what college they belong to. And that tells you that there is a real sense of home and belonging in that college, and a real sense of pride. And what, of course, it is, there is a little bit of competition. In fact, there's quite a lot of competition, but it's a really good-natured competition. And when you come into a college, you're assigned a college because they're not based on subject. They make sure that what you do when you come to Lancaster is that you integrate right across a different community, so that you will mix with people from different backgrounds, from different subjects. And that way you get to have what I think is the best and most rounded experience at university. Each of the colleges has its own recreational facilities, its own bars, it holds its own quizzes, it has its own sports responsibilities. But you will very, very quickly come to feel a part, often of a college first, before you become a part of the university. And that's really good, and it's really important for us. We happen to think that what we have is a fantastic campus, and the next slide shows you a little bit of that campus. I wish I could show it all to you, I can't, but I know that online we've got roving reporters who will take you around the campus today, and I have to say, when the sun shines, it really is the most glorious of places. This is Alexandra Square, which is named after our first Chancellor, which is Princess Alexandra, and all manner of things happen on Alexandra Square. University House, where my office is, sits on the 4th floor, and we look out onto Alexandra Square, and it's different every single day depending on what's going on. People may have drawn beanbags out of the library and be sitting there in study in the sunshine. It might be that the market is on. We have a market every Thursday selling fresh produce, and you'll see the queues and the smells coming out of the hot food are just incredible. You might find that there's dancing going on there. There might be a demonstration going on there, which is the right thing and the appropriate thing for students to be able to demonstrate about things that they feel are important. So all of these things, the heart in many ways sits in Alexandra Square. And all around you can see that there are shops and there are banks, and it really does feel almost like the village green. And there will be ducks. The ducks will definitely make their way around you as you sit there. But there are lots of other spaces. For example, our award-winning library, which is the next space, the next slide. And this is an incredible space for learning because we know that no two people learn in the same way. Some people want to be in isolation. Some people want to be in groups. Some people need silence. And so we try across the library to create an environment for you that best fits your form of learning. And we bring the outdoors inside. So you can see, and we've had a new tree planted in the library, and I think the whole naming process of the tree is about to happen in the next year, and students will decide what we call our tree, because the tree becomes important for people. It's a symbol of the way in which Lancaster University embraces the environment around it. And of course, in summer, when the doors are open, those infamous ducks will be wandering into the library, and you quite often find them nestling and sitting underneath the tree. The next slide shows that whilst we do have an incredibly beautiful campus, and this is the drive as you're coming up onto the main campus, it's up on a hill, you see this building on the right, which is the Ruskin. And that's because the university takes its national responsibilities very strongly. John Ruskin was an incredibly influential polymath, and the university was able to save his collections for the nation by being able to draw together millions of pounds of investment to create this iconic building that sits right up at the top of our drive, our main drive up into the university. And we have the most glorious grounds, as you can see, and they change throughout the year. Although we're aware of our responsibility to our students and our responsibility to the environment and our responsibility locally and regionally, we also have a very strong global reach. And the next slide gives you a little bit about that global reach. We are central, and we understand that the world is a very small place. And in the last few months, heavens, haven't we all learnt just how small the world is and how we can communicate with each other? That doesn't require us to fly around the world. We can do it in a much more ecologically sound way. Lancaster has around about 144 partner institutions around the world in 24 different countries, and you can choose to work with those, to study with them, whether it's an exchange or whether it's about getting an overseas experience. And we have 4 overseas campuses, one in Malaysia, one in China, one in Ghana, and one in Leipzig in Germany. That was the UK's Brexit strategy, was making sure that Lancaster University retains its footprint in Europe, because we feel that is an extremely important academic partner. So we're not a small provincial university at all. We are actually a university that has huge national and international reach. And one of the things that happens when people attend open days is normally you get someone boring like me standing up in front of you, telling you about university rankings and why these rankings are important. And we try not to do that, but I'm going to do it just very, very briefly. And the only reason I'm going to put it there is because this is for us not about boasting. This is about pride. Lancaster University has remained in the top 10 ranking across our 3 major league tables for over a decade. And that's not achieved lightly. That's achieved through the hard work of our students, the hard work of our staff, and our ability to adapt to the environment around us. But the one that I'm really impressed at, and the one that gives me greatest pride, is the next slide. Because not about being top 10, we are 3rd in the UK out of over 130 universities for graduate level employment. Because isn't that what university is about? It's about training and education that gets you a job. And one of the things that Lancaster does incredibly well is to ensure that you have the confidence, the skills, and the experience that you will need to not just get you a job, but to get you graduate level employment. And that is incredibly important. So that's something for which we're enormously proud. The university, when it was instigated, was developed on 3 pillars, and those 3 pillars were about the quality of our teaching, the quality of our research, and the quality of which we engage with our communities. The next slide shows you, and you can tell it's pre-COVID, an indication of some of our teaching. This is Adam Taylor, who's our professor of anatomy. We do a lot of small group teaching as well as large group teaching, and the facilities that we have are incredible. The medical school now moving into our very large health innovation campus, where you have absolutely incredible facilities for teaching. Now, we will do a blended teaching until it becomes a safe environment for everyone. So a lot of our lectures will be done online. That is a really challenging environment for a teacher and for students, but we will make it work together. And there's the ability as well in small groups to still come together. And that's really important. So we're TEF Gold, which means that we have the highest quality of teaching standards. And that isn't going to slip just as a result of COVID. The next slide shows you some of our research facilities. Now, again, it won't look like this when you arrive because we may well, in fact, still be socially distanced. But we do understand that if you are in a practical subject, you have to get into the laboratory because you have to learn these practical skills. And we will make sure that happens for you in a safe environment. And we have some world-leading facilities for laboratory teaching. The third part is engagement. Now that's my world, and you can see from this slide, normally it involves actually going out and physically engaging. So my world has changed more dramatically, I think, than many. What I've had in past years are members of staff who've convinced me that it's really important for Lancaster to engage in major festivals such as Glastonbury. So out of my budget, I send staff and students to Glastonbury, but they do the most phenomenal engagement work there. A project that's called Sex, Bugs and Rock and Roll, talking about ecology and the importance of wildlife in relation to our world around us. So we hold those 3 pillars very strongly. But what we also know is when you're not in your education time, you need to be having a good time. And the next slide shows you that there are all sorts of things that you can be doing. We have so many student societies through our Students' Union that there's something that really does meet everybody's needs, whether it is dance, whether it is music, whether it is languages, whether it is something science-based or politics or business-based. I can't remember the number of societies we have, and our president, Oliver, will probably be very cross with me because I haven't got that figure to mind, but I will have by the next time I do this presentation. But there are so many societies, and I urge you really to try as many out as you possibly can, to find the ones that are really right for you. The next slide shows you that one thing that we do focus on very heavily is sustainability, and we have an eco hub on campus, and that eco hub is where we grow produce. So it's an area of land that has been given over to staff and students to work, and we create produce which is sold in the market every Thursday in Alexandra Square. We also have rescue chickens there, of course we do, and we have beehives there as well. But we do more than that. We also have and it's gone completely out of my head, the wind turbines. So a lot of people feel mixed about wind turbines. We do create a lot of our own green energy, and we sell that energy back into the national grid. The money that we recover from that, we invest into community projects. So we're very, very conscious of our ecological responsibility, and it's something that we encourage our students in very, very firmly. But then coming back to sporting, there is one event, and the next slide will show that really does hold for us what is the epitome of the sporting year. And this is the annual Roses. It's not the War of the Roses, but it is the Roses. And it's a sporting event, the largest student sporting event in Europe. And it's held every year between Lancaster and York. And of course, Lancaster is the red rose and York is the white rose of the War of the Roses. So it's a very competitive event with multiple events taking place over a long period of time. And every year, of course, every side wants to win. Now, it's great when you win when the Roses are at home, but the real drive is to win when Roses are away. So Lancaster really wants to win when it's being held at York. And of course, York really wants to win when it's held at Lancaster. It is really important that that event, whether you're taking part in it as a sporting person or whether you're taking part in it there as a supporter, it's really, really critical. And we even involve our vice chancellors in what is a blood sport, usually either of lawn bowls or something like croquet. And it might not sound as if it's going to be a terribly contact event, but trust me, the vice chancellors are just as competitive as the students are in the Roses. Last year was the first year that it was actually suspended because, or this year I should say, because of COVID. But we did hold a virtual event, and that virtual event was used to raise money for charities and for individuals who were affected by COVID. So the next slide shows that we do not take ourselves terribly seriously, and in Roses as much as anything. Lancaster is a friendly place. It's a place where you come on campus, you feel welcome, and you feel you belong. We challenge you in your academic studies, but we make you feel as if you are home from home. I'm sorry I can't be on campus, and neither can you, to go around and to show you really how proud we are. But if you do choose to come to us, and I do hope that you do, then I can guarantee you that it will be a decision that you will never regret. Kat, over to you.
Oh, thanks so much, Sue. I love hearing you talk about Lancaster and the surrounding area. I think like the passion for the place really comes through. We really do love it here. Like it's so great. Great. So coming up today, we've got some really cool stuff going on that I just want to touch on. We've got live Q&A sessions. We're about to come online with some of our amazing student ambassadors who are going to answer some of your questions that you've been throwing at us. There's also sessions going live today about applying to Lancaster, so getting some tips and tricks on how to make the most out of your application. We've got stuff on student finance, so the really important, the money side of things. How do you budget? How do I apply for Student Finance England? We can cover all of that in that session. We've also got sessions about our award-winning library. Sue said we have an amazing tree in there, which is a pretty cool thing, I think. And yeah, you can learn about what it's like to study in our library. There's also stuff on student life, which is where you can find out what it's like to live on campus, what it's like to be a student at Lancaster, and to really make the most out of talking to our ambassadors today. And don't forget, there's exclusive departmental content that you can access for your chosen course, your course of interest. So that'll help you have a real deep dive into what it is about your course at Lancaster that you're interested in. You can also head over to our chat function, and there you'll have the chance to talk to our staff and students about anything Lancaster. So you can talk to departmental staff about your course content, but you can also talk to just students about everyday life at Lancaster, whatever you like. We really do love a chat. And don't forget as well that over on our Instagram at the moment, Kyle and Maria are taking over our Instagram stories, and they're doing a follow along tour, I think, a choose your own tour of campus. So go and interact with that. It's a really good opportunity to see campus in this weird situation that we're in. So we're ready for the panel. So hopefully you can see our three panelists. We have John and Lily and Beatrice with us today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the panel and just get you to introduce yourselves. I'd like to know who you are, what do you study, and your college, please. Let's start with John, seeing as you're the first one in my list.
So, hi everyone, my name's John. I'm a final year philosophy student, originally from Sevenoaks in Kent. I'm in Furness College.
Awesome. And Lily, how about you?
Hi, I'm Lily. I recently graduated. I was studying geography at Lancaster, and I'm in Pendle College.
And Beatrice, hello.
Hey, I'm Beatrice. I'm now going to my third year studying politics and international relations, but I'm from Portugal, but I went to the UK to study, and my college is Poland.
Lovely. Oh, great. So we've got loads of questions flooding in. So let me just have a quick look and ask you some questions. So I think to kick us off, what I'd love to know is what's everyone's favourite place on campus? I know that we can't be on campus right now, but if we were and it was a sunny day, or even if it was a rainy day, where's your favourite place on campus? Let's start with Lily.
I really like the Bonington Step, especially if it's a sunny day, just because it's really nice to kind of chill, sit out there, watch the ducks go by. Yeah, so I'd probably say there. That's
a great spot. I really like the little pond there. Like you say, you can see all the ducks, and that's where some of our ducklings hatch, which is a phenomenon of the year, definitely.
Yeah.
Good shout, Lily. John, how about you?
Lily stole mine. I was going to say that as well. One of my second favourite places actually is the chaplaincy centre itself. It's actually a really nice place to study. Most people kind of go to the library or the learning zone, but actually the chaplaincy is a really nice cafe out back, and it's quite peaceful there. So it's a really nice building as well. So that's my favourite place as well.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one, John. And Beatrice, how about you?
I think my favourite place is Alex Square. And if we say specifically like the stairs in Alex Square, especially when it's sunny, I love how they get like super full of people, everyone enjoying the sun, because we have it like less days than, for example, here in Portugal. So there we appreciate more. And like Alex Square makes the connection between like the entire campus. So I think that's my favorite place to be at and to meet everyone.
Oh, I think those are such good places. I think my favorite place is the Water by the new engineering building. I love it there. That's like my top tip secret place. Although we did put it on the front of the prospectus this year, so maybe not so secret now. Great, let's kick off some other questions. We're getting a few questions in about colleges. So a few people want to know, how do you pick between colleges or choose your college? So Beatrice, let's go to you. You were Pendle, right?
No, I'm Boland.
Nope. Boland.
I'm Pendle.
I'm Boland.
Lily's Pendle, that's it. So Boland. What made you choose Boland, Beatrice?
All right, to be honest, like for example, I remember like File was the sports college, so I was like, okay, I'm not properly a File person, but what actually made me choose my college was the location, because I'm studying politics, so it's more North Campus. So based on the degree I'm taking, based on where I would have classes, I chose my college. And to be honest, I love my college. I love Poland. I think it's amazing. Accommodation is amazing. People is amazing. Location on campus, it's amazing. It's one of the founders. So I'm really happy with the one I chose. And I know we can also, like, one of the advice I always give is like go to the Instagram pages of colleges, see what they post, see what they look like. And based on that, you can too choose.
That's a really good shout. I think, yeah, all the colleges have Instagram pages and you can go and get a real sense of the vibe there, I think. John, how about you? How did you choose Furness College?
So the reason I ended up choosing Furness College was because it was one of the smaller colleges and it was really known for having like a real sense of community, as to all the colleges. But one thing that Furness had that the others didn't as well was it had its own TV room, which other colleges didn't have, and I'm quite a big telly fan, so that really drew me in, having that little space where you can go and watch TV, or, you know, I mean, people go and they'll plug their games consoles there, and as far as I'm aware, other colleges don't have that, so that was a real big thing for me with Furness College.
Nice, a Furness exclusive, I like that. And Lily, how about you? What made you choose your college?
So Pendle was actually my second choice, but I put it down as my second choice because it was kind of it was near things, but it wasn't kind of right in the middle, so it's a little bit quieter, and it also offered the accommodation that I wanted, because I wanted standard accommodation. But I would say, like, even if you don't get your first choice, that you kind of fit in straight away. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't end up in my first choice, because Pendle turned out really well.
Oh, nice. Sometimes things happen like that, don't they? And you can't see it any other way than the way it's turned out. I think you made a really good point there, Lily, though, about it being attached to accommodation. So people might not know that you choose your college based on the accommodation that you want to live in. So let's move on. There is a few questions about accommodation. So I'm going to ask you guys, what advice would you give to people choosing accommodation for the first time? This might be the first time people have lived away from home. Do you have any advice for people choosing that? John, let's go to you.
So I think my advice would be, you choose something that you know that you're going to be comfortable in. You are living away potentially for the first time. You might not be too comfortable sharing a bathroom with other people. I mean, for me, it was fine, but do go with what you're comfortable with, because you are going to be, spending a whole year there, and potentially 3 or 4 years in that accommodation. So go with something that you are comfortable with, and not, obviously it will also depend on price, but make sure that you're comfortable there would be my top tip.
I think that's a good shout. So other questions about accommodation. People want to know what it's like living off campus. Do any of you live off campus now?
I do.
Give us a wave. Beatrice, do you want to talk to us about what it's like living off campus?
I think that living off campus is like the advantage of living on campus is that you're closer to everything, including and most importantly of the library. Because like if you want to study until like late at night, you're super close from home. But when you go, I think it's really important to at least 1 year of our studies be in the city, to have like the experience of being in the city. Because by being in the city, you are also closer to everything besides from campus. Like literally everything, nightlife, day life, more coffee shops, like everything. And also another really good thing is that when we move to town, we usually get a chance to choose who we are living with. So it's like being on campus, making like a group of friends, and then moving into town with that group of friends. And it's a really good experience, in my opinion. So there are advantages in living on campus and outside of campus. It's just like experiencing both, and then choose on a third year the one you enjoy the most, I think.
I think that's a really, really good tip. Yeah, most of our first year undergraduates do live on campus and do choose to live on campus. And then for the second, third and beyond years, most people choose to live away from campus, like Beatrice said, but it is totally up to you. You can make that choice. So we have a question that's come in about homesickness, which I think is a really, really good question, actually. So how do you deal with homesickness, and how quickly did you settle into uni life? Lily, let's start with you.
Yeah, so it can be quite hard, obviously, moving away from home. I'm from Manchester, so I wasn't too far away. I feel like that was a good choice because I could kind of go home for the weekend and stuff. But I think it's important in first term to just kind of throw yourself into university life. So join lots of societies, make sure you go to all your lectures, make sure you're kind of making friends and you're getting out and stuff. And I would say just kind of don't sit in your room. Like especially in Freshers Week, I found that whenever I was in my room, I was like, oh, I'm really homesick, I'm stressed out. Whereas when I was like out doing things, it does kind of distract you and everything. Obviously it might be a bit different this year, but yeah, I would say still kind of throw yourself into university life and join as many societies and stuff as you can.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good tip, to try and make as many connections as you possibly can in whatever way that is. Beatrice, obviously you joined us from Portugal. So what was it like for homesickness for you coming from abroad?
Well, it's a bit different, but I think it's like we can cure that with a lot of FaceTime. What happened to me is that I basically tried to do everything I can, like during first week, during Freshers Week, during first term, I did the most of the things I could, because like it's the best way to meet people. And then the thing is that Lancaster is really diverse, and you have like lots of students from all over the world, from all countries. So right from the beginning, it was easy for me to find Portuguese, Spanish, French, Italian people, which was really good. And at the same time, also English people more in my degree, for example. So I really like to be in new countries. So for me, maybe it was easier than from other students. But I would say like the main tip is that what Lily said is about doing things, never stop doing things. And I think with time, everyone will be fine, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a big step for lots of people, isn't it? But I think you're right. We're really lucky in that most people, we hope, do find a home at Lancaster and get on really well with the people that they live with or see. A few of you mentioned societies, and there are loads of questions coming in about societies right now. So what I'd like to do, John, can you please your part of and what your society experience has been like at Lancaster?
Yeah, so the main society I was part of was actually Lancaster University running an athletics club, which I didn't actually join until my final year, but I really got into it there. So we would do sessions every Monday evening. So we go on runs around campus and into kind of Barham, which isn't too far away from campus. They would also do Wednesday sessions, but we post socials as well. So we go out for meals as a group. But even during like the pandemic, we've still been doing stuff together virtually. So we've been using this app called Strava, which tracks your runs and stuff like that. We've been doing competitions within our own society, but also other universities running an athletics societies as well. And I've met like a huge range of friends through that as well, who I hadn't even, you know, even in my third year, having already been for quite a few years, met brand new people and had a whole new selection of friends. So that's the main society that I've been involved in. Nice,
thanks, John. And Lily and Beatrice, how about you guys? Lily, let's go to you first. What's your society experience been like?
So I tried out loads of things in first year. So I was in baking society. I even tried Disney society, and I also went to cheerleading for a bit, but wasn't for me. But you know, that's what I like about university. You can try like so many different things. But yeah, so in baking society was a really good one because it meant that I brought back like baked goods for my flat every week, and definitely made me a popular flatmate.
Totally. What other way is there to make friends? I think by baking cakes. That's a great way to make new friends. And Beatrice, how about you? What was your society experience like?
It was really good, to be honest. I did the same as Lily. During my first year, I tried lots of societies, and in my second year, I applied for the exec of one of it. It's UNICEF. So like my second year experience was really good as a UNICEF exec member, because we were like a small, okay, not small, but like 10 people group. We raised money throughout the year. We were able to do many events, and that's really good because you connect first of all with those 10 people, and then you connect with all the volunteers that comes to help, all the people that come to buy your stuff, to be in your events. So I think it's essential to be in at least one society, because university is not just about studying, you know, and always gives you more experiences.
Totally. I think that's a really, really good tip. And the last question I'm going to ask you guys, we've had a few people ask about placements and doing placements and volunteering. So John, I know that you did a placement. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience doing that?
Yeah, so one really good thing about Lancaster University, and actually the key reason I came here, is that they have a really good designated careers department, which will help you with internships, work experience, placement years as well. So one thing that you can do in most subjects, not all, is you can take a year out in between your second and your third year to work in industry. So some people go and work for big companies like Whitbread, various others. I spent a year working in a charity based in Kent, and what that meant was that, you know, I've completed my degree, but I've also got a year of work experience under my belt to add to my CV. The careers department really helped me apply for all these placement years, but equally, if I wanted to do an internship or just a little bit of work experience for a month rather than a whole year, they had plenty of opportunities with that as well, because employers actively come to this university to look for our students because they know the careers department has this really good system and has this high caliber of students. So it's a really good, it's one thing about Lancaster in particular that I would really always recommend to people, is definitely the careers department.
Totally, yeah, we're really lucky in that respect that no matter what you're interested in or what your degree is, we will try and get you some experience if you want it. Like John said, whether that's part of a year in industry or just a volunteer opportunity, we are so lucky. This has been really great. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry that we have to wrap it up. It's nice to chat to other people. Awesome. So thank you so much, you guys, and thank you again, Sue, for joining us earlier on. This has been a really great experience. So from now, if you've had questions that haven't been answered, then don't worry, we can certainly help out. We can push you to our chat function, which is I think someone's posted a link over in the Q&A chat. So if you'd like to talk to more students or staff about any of your unanswered questions, then go ahead. We've also got running other sessions running today. We have some applying to Lancaster, stuff about student finance, student life. There's loads of exclusive departmental content happening. So don't forget, the conversation isn't over after this. You can go over and talk to us over there. We'd love to chat to you. So yeah, thanks so much for joining us for this little welcome session. And we hope you have a really great day. Bye.